Chapter 12, My Crossman. Yopie lived in the house bordering the driveway side of our backyard on the other side of the fence, where Dad had his prize peonies. He had a variety of different flowers planted along both sides of the drive, as well as around the perimeter of the house, lilac, roses, etc. He had quite the green thumb, but he was especially proud of his peonies. Seems like the worm fertilizer really worked good. Yopie and his family was of Basque descent and spoke with a heavy accent hard to understand. His sister's name Olga. She had a wart on her nose that was hard not to stare at, and I can't really tell you what she looked like. They had just moved in. For some reason, Dad found Yopie annoying. Not knowing his name, he referred to him as Nudnik, or that Ichabod Crane-looking mofo. Yopie was always tall for his age. Rumor has it he was held back in school for an undetermined amount of years. He had long, straight brown hair with a small bald spot and bony knees. Yopie looked a lot older, towering over all his friends. Maybe that's what bugged Dad initially. It was Saturday afternoon. All those involved avoided coming home around the house as much as possible, including me. I had not been home all afternoon, but I got a pee, and I'm looking for a peanut butter sandwich, the driving factor. Back then, a little kid could pee anywhere. Mom was not home yet. She had swapped her night shift for the day shift in an attempt to keep a lid on it when everyone was home. Coming from the foyer, I hear a snidely chuckle repeatedly as if keeping a secret of sorts. I cautiously make my way to the front of the house, seemingly further away today. As I peek around the corner, I see that all three doors are open. At closer look, I see the outside door is wedged slightly open with a doorstop, and one of the ottomans from the living room in front of the small roll-out window on the other side of the front door. The outside door open. At that very moment, much to my surprise, the drunk staggered out of his room with my Crossman in his hand. Well, he looked at me from afar, but paid me no mind, like I wasn't there. The barbs must be kicking in. He's acting all giddy, jumping up and down on the ottoman, something the boys were not allowed to do. Not really understanding the goings-on of the situation, I watched from a distance. I wasn't getting any closer. With eyes wide open and mouth dropped as if catching flies. In between bouncing, he's leaping back and forth from the window to the door, sticking my rifle through the openings, taking pot shots at something across the street. On the other side of the house where John fought Jack, laughing all the way. What's he shooting at? I couldn't tell from my viewpoint. What to do. At first I couldn't speak, so I didn't. But finally my curiosity overcame me. I moved a bit closer and swallowed and said, Dad, what you doing? His eyes glazed over, no answer. When he did speak, it was muffled and slurred. He mumbled, "I'm going to get that boy." Then he disappeared into his room, falling on his bed. He's out like a light. Yay. He drops my Crossman on the floor, and BBs fall out of his pants pocket where he laid, forming a little pile, then rolling away. Dad had a busy afternoon. Across the street, pandemonium. Dad managed to pin Yopie and his buddies on their porch, scrambling and ducking down, trying to keep under cover, shouting obscenities beginning with crazy and old, their voices heightened with fear, while Dad went on his shooting ramp, peppering beer cans with BBs, leaking beer through the holes. Dad never missed what he shot at. He didn't hit anyone. Now that he wore himself out, I grabbed my gun, removed the doorstop with my foot, walked out the front door to the porch with a Crossman held over my head with both hands, setting it down beside me, signaling it's all over, like in the movies. It worked. Apparently the whole thing started with Yopie and his motley crew having a beer party in his backyard, I suppose having fun and raising a ruckus. But the party was over when Dad seen the nudnik and a crew pee on his peonies, standing his hair on his neck straight up, sending him over the edge, as you might imagine. Words were exchanged. After all, Dad had his reputation to uphold. He was big on teaching lessons. Ha ha. He began tormenting the nudnik with his equalizer, my Crossman. That's when I showed up. Anyway, it was over. No one got hurt. However, a lot of beer lost. The ledge around the porch across the street lined with holy beer cans. Yopie went home with his middle finger waving in the wind. Too scared to talk. Welcome to the neighborhood. Now you would think that was enough for the day. It turns out Dad wanted more than enough. A family trait. It was 6 o'clock. The family gathered at the dining table like always. As Dad entered the kitchen and sat down, missing his chair ending up on the floor, we all were catching flies with that one. Did I say he was special needs? From time to time when he didn't get up, I grabbed his Remington and shaved him where he fell. I can't explain how I felt or why. Peaceful, in control, maybe. I don't know. Compassion, I didn't always want to help. Quite the opposite. A bit malnutritioned, he didn't look too good laying on the floor, frail, tinted yellow. This time he was able to get himself back up and sit in his chair. No one helped the alpha dog. Shoulders slumped and bent, hovering side to side over his food. In a black iron skillet, Mom cooked a T-bone smothered in ketchup and Worcestershire sauce, just the way he liked it. Along with some cornbread, I heated up the stew for the rest of us. Much like water to a starved flower, he seemed to straighten up and perk up with every bite. Not saying he's a flower by any means, perhaps more like a rainstorm after a drought. Lots of weeds shoot up. Everyone ate as fast as possible, except Dad. He's busy making a mess on his face similar to a child, but eventually finishes his steak and heads to his room. Mom, pleased he ate, escorts him to their room, hoping to put him to bed.